Okay, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us here on the virtual plant clinic this week. My name is Bill Lester. I'm with University of Florida Extension Service here in Hernando County, and joining me today is one of our Master Gardener volunteers, Bernie. Good morning, Bernie.
Good morning, Bill.
And
Greetings,
our
Bill.
our previous Hernando County Florida Friendly Landscape Coordinator, Lily Browning, is here from beautiful Pennsylvania. Good morning, Lily.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm just great here. I have a technical thing I have to work on. So if I get a blank look on my face, it's because I'm technically fixing something.
Technically,
Yeah.
I'm going to see it's 72 degrees right now here. So it is quite beautiful. We had a heat wave like the rest of the country had, and it was nasty. It felt somewhat like Florida, just not, the air wasn't quite as thick, but it was pretty darn hot, and I didn't want to be out in it. Then the last week or so, it's been lovely with like highs 80, 81. It's slowly sneaking back up though, because it's only the beginning of August, so we're not going to get away with not being hot again. And nor are you till what, November?
Oh, at least. It's not cooling off for a while here.
So Bernie, it's good to have you back. Did it give you a lovely new floor?
Well, the interesting thing about the floor is what we had before they didn't worry about. Now you have to be very careful. Don't scratch it. Don't do anything. So I'm not sure that we've gained having this wonderful new floor. Looks great, but if it's as fragile as they told us it was, it's not going to last very long.
Don't move that chair that you're in.
That's exactly. I've got a thing, but it's not big enough. They had to get a new protector. So.
Oh, I don't have one of those. And I'm in a fairly new building, which Bernie, before we went on air, called a storage room. I want you to know this is my office here in Armstrong County, Pennsylvania. But as the Master Gardener Coordinator, yes, my office is their storage room. So,
Double duty.
yes. And right before I got on air, I found some stuff that has been missing since they had a event in June that I couldn't attend. And I finally tracked down the right person who told me, oh, we put it in such and such room here in this building. It was here all along. And one of those situations where everybody thought somebody else would tell me. So
we welcome them. It's nice that somebody has found us. We by a terrible coincidence keeps accumulating, and these things happen, and we miss one, and then something else happens, and we miss another one. So it's been kind of confusing in the past month and a half, but hopefully people will find us. And
Sam and Buddy and Cindy, there are regulars.
And anybody watching from Facebook, at first we were not transmitting on Facebook this morning, but I fixed it, so we're on Facebook.
Oh, okay, great. So Bernie, what you don't know is last week when you were not on the virtual plant clinic because of the floor situation, we made some major life decisions for you.
Uh-oh.
So you're going to have to go home and tell Sue, start looking. I'll help you. I have a realtor. You're going to buy a summer home in Armstrong County, Pennsylvania, and help me start up what they call a hotline here, what you call plant clinics. And I will share you 6 months and 6 months with Hernando County. How's that sound to you?
Well, if there's a zoo in the area where Susie can volunteer, that would work. If there isn't a zoo, we're not going. So.
Well, the Pittsburgh Zoo is marvelous and not too far away. She used to drive to Tampa from your house. So
she'd probably drive 50, 60 miles to.
Sure. Oh, yeah. The Pittsburgh Zoo is fantastic. And you don't even have to go downtown at all to get there. We go around without even seeing downtown. So, yeah, okay, we've got that settled. All right. You might have to take the Pennsylvania Master Gardener training with me.
Hey, I don't really care. You reach a point where you've pretty much filled your head with facts. So if you learn something else, it pushes another one out. And I'm at that point where every time I learn something new, I forget something old. So
Oh, no. No,
yeah,
I think you retain it all.
and the amazing thing is, things run cyclic to where, uh, you know, it's here in Florida. We had the Asian cycad scale. And
Remember that?
for
Yeah.
2 years, everybody that called, I got to say, well, you have Asian cycad scale. And then that went away, and we don't have that anymore. And then you have some aphids that show up and they attack something, and they kind of go away, and you get a new problem, a fungus that attacks stuff, and then an invasive plant or an invasive insect. And these things go on 2 to 3 year cycles. So when I first started, the number one questions I got were on
citrus and turf,
and then
yeah.
it became turf, and we were switching between. The biggest problem was chinch bugs. They cured the chinch bug problem, and now the fungus, which had been there all along, suddenly became evident because everybody lost their lawn, and half of them lost it because of chinch bugs, and then after that, then half of them lost it because of fungal problems. Well, now the palm thing has come and gone. If you spend money on a palm today, you're really wasting a lot of money because it's probably going to get attacked and die. Nobody buys citrus anymore.
By the lethal yellowing, right?
The
lethal bronzing.
Yeah.
Bronzing. And
supposedly
now we can't
come
call
out.
it Phoenix palm decline
Yeah.
anymore.
Texas
because-
Phoenix palm decline. I think
Because Texas
like
and
that.
Phoenix both
And
took.
Phoenix didn't like it.
Right.
Yeah.
They were both insulted by that.
Hmm. So we
Having
don't
their
use that
name
term
attached
anymore.
to a disease. So it's lethal bronzing, yes. And the thing about the Asian cycad scale, which was a big thing when Bernie started doing the plant clinic, and that's because he and I took the Master Gardener training at the same time. I was already working at Extension in 05. Now, what happened in 04 in Florida? Jeannie, Francis, Opal, what were the other? All four of those hurricanes, like 6-week period, like it's weekend, it's hurricane time again. That's what really stirred up that Asian cycad scale, was those 4 hurricanes sending them all over the state. And probably for 2 years straight, yeah, we did nothing but talk about that. And I don't think we overcame it, very much. Once the sago palms had that, and it was down in their roots, there was really nothing much to do about it. So, like Bernie said, we just had to wait it out.
Actually, the cure did work, but the cure was expensive. It was a neonicotinoid, and it wasn't really plentiful, and so many of them died. People didn't replant them, but I had a friend that at the very end went around and treated them, and the ones he treated recovered and did fine. They're still there, but it's just that went from being one of the most popular landscape plants to a pariah. And
I never thought they were. I mean, they're okay. I didn't want to go around and cut them down, but I never wanted one. I never thought they were all that pretty.
I
like the native cycad much better, the Kunti. And it did not seem to get it, did it?
No, Kuntis didn't have that problem.
Yeah. I think the Kuntis are much cuter than the sago palms. Both of them are in the cycad family, which was the very first terrestrial, actual scientific plant. Started with algae, and then, on the earth, and then we had cycads. Did you know that? They were here with the dinosaurs.
Very, very old family.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's happening right now is because of the frequent rainstorms and the real high temperatures, the warm weather grasses in Florida are growing like crazy. You can mow. Uh, the next day it'll get to be 110. There'll be an afternoon shower, and 24 hours after that, the grass is now a foot tall. So
it's not that much different here either. Our grass is growing like crazy too.
So lawn maintenance right now is the really big thing. It's a little too hot to do much gardening, and it's really too hot to mow unless you're out fairly early. And depends on where you are. Some of these places are getting early morning rains, and it's too hot to mow by the time the lawn's dry. So
right.
I really admire some of my neighbors, but you're not going to catch me out there. I hope they don't start a petition to get me out of the neighborhood, but I just can't mow that often. It's a young man's thing to do silly stuff. Although I've never let that stop me.
I just try to either start early or late, if it's not raining in the evening, or if it didn't rain in late afternoon and everything's soaking wet, right before dark can be a pretty nice time of day.
But mosquito control is going to tell you a different story. That's where you always run into, it's too hot if it's not dusk or dawn, and that's exactly when mosquito control says don't be out there, because that's when the mosquitoes are. But
I have found
repellent.
Yeah. I don't have bad mosquitoes in my neighborhood. I have good neighbors who don't attract and breed mosquitoes, I guess, and they're not a huge problem.
I don't think mosquitoes have been as bad this year, strictly because we've had fairly warm days. That the water doesn't last very long. We're not sitting around with a lot of puddles for weeks at a time. It's you get a puddle, and then the next day everything's clean, dry, and it just has worked out that my lawn is got a lot of I can't think the mimosa, the strigosa, little pink flowers, and I love it because I mow, and if it stays dry for a couple of days, the little pink flowers pop up. So
yes,
it's kind of neat. I really enjoy those things. I didn't realize they were as invasive as they are, but
they're not invasive.
Good. I've got the
They're not invasive. They are pioneering.
Yes, that's correct.
Aggressive.
Aggressive. I had one time a gentleman call me, very, very, very upset that he did not know, like we didn't tell him we've only ever promoted sunshine mimosa. And apparently, there are a couple even among the native ones, a couple different varieties. And so you need a lot of room. A lawn is a great place if you want it to take over your lawn. Now, I know the master gardeners, that's a bad word to them. That's strigosa, because gardeners before them put it in some beds, and they just couldn't do anything in those beds because of the sunshine mimosa. I don't know. I would have to go back now after 2 years and look at my old house. I couldn't get it to do much of anything. Maybe the new people are cursing me. I don't know. But I guess it depends on your conditions and what you're looking for. So don't plant it unless you have a lot of room and want it to really spread.
Yeah, master gardeners do still have it at the nursery in a grassy area, and it's just mixed right in with the existing old St. Augustine grass.
Ones that they had on those parking lot beds, though.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned sunshine mimosa, and those particular master gardeners would give me the dirtiest looks, like, don't say that name. So
yeah, they've redone those beds, and I think they basically got the mimosa out eventually.
I have the same issue here with trumpet vine, which I'm not sure. Maybe the trumpet vine that the lady who lived in my house for 77 years, by the way. Maybe it was not a native. All I know is it's way too aggressive for such a small area. And I had Chip Drop bring in me a big pile of mulch. It's at least, up to my hip. That trunk of mine is growing through that 3 feet of mulch.
I see this thing from Bassem on caper bush. I'm not familiar with caper bush.
I just looked it up, and the traditional caper bush that you would get capers from, like you can buy it in a jar at the grocery store, it's a Mediterranean bush. So it's not going to do really well in Florida. There is a Jamaican caper, which apparently is a very attractive shrub, and it flowers, and it's not invasive, not a problem, but it's not going to give you the little capers. The capers are seed pods on the bush. So if your goal is to grow the edible capers, no, they're not going to do very well in Florida. You can try them, but it's probably going to be the heat.
I think he will
in the summer that takes them out.
Bassem loves to experiment. Like I said, you need to set up even maybe do a video of his yard and see what kind of botanical experimental gardens he's got
head over there and see his botanical garden with every kind of edible from around the world at least being tried.
Yes. Well, we're chatting with
Ailes is here and has a question. Want to create flower beds. I am layering with sweet viburnum. What else would be nice in this flower bed? Any ideas?
Well, problem with sweet viburnum is it's going to
take it over.
Yeah, that's going to get fairly large.
It'll get to the size of a small tree, and that'll be all that's in your beds. I would think, wouldn't you, Bernie?
Yeah, I would think that sweet viburnum. The problem with all those shrub type plants is that when they first start out, they really don't have any problems. The plant hasn't been here in any quantity, and when you plant it, your neighbors plant it. A lot of people in the neighborhood plant it. The fungal diseases and the insects that attack that plant get an opportunity to rise in numbers, and eventually that plant becomes a problem. Sweet viburnum has some fungal problems now that it didn't have 10 years ago even, and that's been the story historically. We had red tip potenia that everybody had red tip potenia.
And then all the 90s and before. Yeah, now that was the shrub.
They develop a fungal problem on the way home. So
red tip potenia and pittosporum, mock orange. That's what if the house was built in the 80s and 90s in Florida, I guarantee you at least had those shrubs if they haven't been taken out.
Indian hawthorn.
Indian hawthorn.
They need to be trimmed like a pyramid, and trimmed really often to keep them short, and not water the vegetation. That plant does not like to be sprayed with water. It wants to be dry during the day. So
right. If you have your irrigation system on your shrub beds in front of your house, after the first year, maybe turn that off, because it does not want it. Remember, Bill, you visited a place where the shrubs were dying, and basically you just reached down and pulled the shrub out, and it was like, it was just
and
swamp under there.
The hole it left was filled with water. So we see a lot more hedges die from too much water, usually late in the summer if we've had a very rainy summer, than from lack of water. So they get root rot, they'll drown.
Shrubs and trees, after they get established, should do just fine. We'll do a lot better on natural rainwater. I planted a couple sweet viburnum. My gosh, now it's 20 years ago in a house I had in Brooksville, and it grew fast. Now I had pretty good for Florida, a pretty good soil there in Brooksville, just off of 98. So, you know, a lot of clay and kind of loamy, actually. So things grew pretty quickly, but within a year, it did its job, what I wanted it to do, which was block out the neighbor's yard. But it grew, it was the size of a small tree. And why they call it sweet viburnum is beyond me. I've never found anything sweet. It smells oily. I mean, the leaves smell like like motor oil almost.
Yeah. And they make good or fairly good specimen, large hedge / small tree. Plant one by itself, give it plenty of room to grow. Don't prune it, just let it grow. It'll flower, it'll get big, it'll get full. If you position it so it's blocking something that you don't want to see, it'll block it. And be very, very happy. Like I said, don't prune it. Don't prune it into a shape. And it kills me so many things in certain neighborhoods. Oak trees, everything, it all has to be pruned into a shape. Usually ruins it. But yeah, viburnums make a fine specimen plant.
I think Ligustrum makes an even better specimen plant.
But then everybody wants to prune it, and now you have to prune it 10 times a year, and it's going to get fungal disease problems and all kinds. If you leave it alone,
just let it
go.
Yeah,
it'll make a great specimen plant.
It'll flower if you leave it alone, but it'll attract pollinators like wasps and stuff, so you have to be careful. And I think, isn't it on one of the invasive lists, Ligustrum?
Only one variety.
Okay.
Yeah, and when you plant it in a home situation, usually it isn't a problem. But if you're in a in the city, it isn't a problem. In a rural situation, I think the birds move the seeds. But
yeah.
See, that's what she wanted the sweet viburnum for. She had the same idea that I did. Wanted to block the neighbors, and it'll do that for you.
That if you're looking for a hedge to block a view of your neighbor or define your property line, viburnum's the easiest, fastest thing to put in.
If you have a lot of room, cedar trees will do that. Hollies do really well.
The problem is, if you put in a viburnum hedge, you're going to have to prune it. It really does get awfully big, and if you keep it pruned, eventually you're going to have fungal problems with it.
Planting flowers under them, I think, is going to be too shady, unless you do something like impatiens or something. I would
depends on how, which way north, south, east, and west is. So if you put in the hedge, the side that you want to put flowers under, is it a full sun spot? Is it a full shade spot? You can put annuals down there, but you're always going to have to be pruning. The hedge is always going to want to grow into the flowers that you put at the edge.
They are. They're going to take over that space. Yeah. Unless you give them the room and put the flowers, way far over. And I don't know how much room then you have to walk by or whatever. But yeah, if your intention is the screening, I would concentrate on the screening and then beautify the area, other places around there with potted plants or, something along those lines.
Because keep in mind, annuals here in Florida, that doesn't mean that it lasts for a year. It lasts for maybe a third to a quarter of a year here. So, you can put in marigolds. They're going to look great for a couple months. You can put in pansies or petunias in the winter. They're only going to do well for maybe 6 months.
It still messes with my mind seeing pansies and petunias around here this time of year. Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Yes. But, we're not in Florida.
I love this. Just buy these packs of annuals that, 6 for $2 or whatever it is, the cheapest things you can get. Stick them in the ground. It doesn't take very much time. You get 2-3 months, and just replace them. Just
Zinnias.
plan on doing that 3 times a year to keep the flowers going. And
Or get perennials, so you don't have that carbon footprint of the always, buying annuals. But even I had seeds of zinnias here that are growing great, and I know they grow great in Florida as well. My husband had a pair of old cowboy boots that he was going to throw away. And I'm like, no, I'm going to plant flowers in them. And they're on the porch with zinnias poking out of them. So,
and a plant that I think is really neat is firebush. You plant
that would be fantastic for screening,
as a
except
specimen.
in the winter.
Yeah. And the problem is the winter comes along, kills the bush. The thing to do is cut it off level with the ground.
Right. That won't help for screening issues in the winter. But it is great
screening in the winter. But it grows so fast, and if you take it totally flat to the ground, it maintains its shape. If you don't take everything to the ground, then it has a distorted shape, because some of these things that are standing that are 4 foot tall, they want to branch out, and it becomes lopsided. So, if you start from zero after a freeze, in 4 months it's 5 foot tall. So, in 6 months it's all blooming and pretty again. It's gorgeous.
Do you have a fence there, Els, that you might want to think of some kind of vine if there is a fence? That Black Eye Susan vine will fill a fence pretty quickly.
Confederate jasmine, it'll go all over.
Yeah.
My favorite plant for screening is podocarpus.
No fence. Okay.
Yeah.
You just
podocarpus grows slower, but it grows thick and it can do well. It's just a little bit viburnum. I know somebody put in a hedge of viburnum, and it was like 10 feet tall and 5 feet wide. It was huge. He said, only took less than a year to get that big. I just kept fertilizing it lightly with 666, kept it well watered, and stuff grew like a weed during the summer. And so it grows very fast.
If you do your wall of sweet viburnum and like a little bit in front of it, put a couple fire bushes, it will be beautiful. And then in the warm months, you will have butterflies galore and hummingbirds. I miss firebush. Firebush is a fantastic plant. Podocarpus, and this is totally anecdotal, but I swear this is what happens. If you put 2 anywhere near each other, one is going to die. This always happens. If you look at people's houses that have tried to have these columnar podocarpus, in front of the garage, one of them is always dead. I don't know what it is about podocarpus, or like in competition or something with each other.
That sounds like Italian cypress. There is a plant.
No, I know what that is, but they also try to cut podocarpus in that columnar shape and keep it that way, and one of them just gives up.
Arborvitae does the same thing. You'll see where people have put in a row of them, and then they die one by one by one over the years. And
we just had a question here. It looked like spider mites about some arborvitae, and I didn't have a chance to look it up, but my question was, what is the lifespan of an arborvitae in Pennsylvania? I'll have to look that up, because I can tell you in Florida it's about 15 years, and that's it.
Yeah, for most landscape material, and that's going to be arborvitaes and ligustrums and viburnums, all these different
Leland cypress.
We're talking about.
That's
technically on average about 20 years. So some can live longer, others are going to go shorter. But we'll get calls from people, and they're like, I have my hedges, my viburnums, I have an arborvitae or whatever. It looks terrible, it's dying. I say, how long have you lived there? We've lived here for 30 years, and they were already fully grown when we bought the house. It's like,
everything has a lifespan. People seem to think, they accept the idea that people have a lifespan. They begrudgingly accept the idea that their beloved pets have a lifespan, but can't seem to understand that oak tree in the backyard
Yeah.
has a lifespan. I mean, it's all part of we have in our mind that they should live for 200 years and therefore way outlive us. That may happen somewhere out in a forest. Very, very rarely happens in the stresses of urban conditions.
Yeah, my holly bushes out in front of my house are starting to look pretty weak. They have a fungus problem. I'm not going to go out there and kill myself trying to spray with fungicide. We're just kind of waiting and watching how it comes along. So, but they're at least 25 years old at this point, and they've been kept waist high ish. So, naturally they're going to want to grow to be a lot bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So they may have just run out of time, basically. And Bill has 40-foot viburnum hedge. It does make a cheap fence. You definitely are going to need to prune it. Some tips. I mean, you can use old-fashioned hedge clippers, electric or gas-powered hedge clippers. But if you go out there and prune it by hand and prune it to where it should be pruned, just beyond the node, and
you prune it from, as Bernie was saying, kind of like a pyramid. What we end up doing is shearing the top.
Yep.
And we have all kind of classes on how that is sheer nonsense. Because what that does is wherever you cut is where you're going to initiate new growth. So you come by, especially in these places that, you have your people who are paid too little to do a lot. So they come and shear that place, shear that place. Well, then you got all this growth at the top, and it'll eventually stop the sun from getting down to the branches below it. You can see it in front of restaurants, Texas Roadhouse, whatever, restaurant, where it's all green on fluffy on the top and completely dead under that. I see it here too. And it's because of bad pruning practices.
It got too dense, too thick on the outside. And a lot of times with electric or gas-powered shears, a lot of the cuts are kind of jagged. They're going to let diseases in. You're going to get fungal diseases. Technically, the best thing that you do is go by and carefully by hand prune it, especially when they're small, when you want them to get 10 feet tall and 5 feet wide. Go in there and very carefully, selectively prune them by hand.
I'm sure you have videos on pruning.
They will get to where you want them to be pretty quickly.
I'm sure you have videos on pruning, don't you, out there? Somewhere way back there we should.
Everything, yeah.
I know, you and I have one on pruning a crepe myrtle.
Yeah, that was an old one.
Yes,
it's around here somewhere. Oh.
But yeah, I know we have them on pruning. I know I would have had you teach those, most likely.
Viburnum is not a hummingbird bush.
Viburnum is not. Firebush.
Firebush is definitely a hummingbird bush.
And the firebush, if you are insistent that it be the native firebush, that is what, Hemilia potens?
Yes. And they have a dwarf variety.
There's a
pulled that out of my brain. Can you believe that? And then there's the other one. To me, it's very, very hard to tell the difference. I think the non-native is redder and the native has more orange flowers. But they say pollinators can tell the difference, and you'll get more pollinators with the native. They both fulfill a very good function of a hedgerow, if that's something you wanted. But like I said, it will freeze. So that's an issue. It's not an evergreen. And you will have to cut it down to the ground once the danger of frost is over and let it start again. But this time of year, I'm sure all your fire bushes are marvelous. A marvelous
mine's
city of activity. Yeah. The sulfur yellow butterflies, love them.
They come in from opposite directions, and they were going around the bush spiraling up. And it was comical because I sat there and watched them for a long time, and neither one knew the other one was there until they got to the top. And then they jabbed at each other and took off in different directions. So generally, the one keeps everybody away while he's there. He fights them off, but it was just the reaction they had being startled when they both.
And you don't have to run out and change the hummingbird formula and make sure that it doesn't get moldy and all that.
Yeah, worry about
it's
ants.
Just a natural, healthy hummingbird feeder where they are getting the nutrients that they need out of it. You're not just giving them sugar water. So.
Okay, if anybody has any other questions, just go ahead and put them in the chat, and I will see them and share them, and we'll do our very best to get them answered.
I think for Saturday, on the National Master Gardener Facebook page, Bill has me posting something about flowers every Saturday. So it's a pretty wild topic. I'm just thinking I'm going to put something about crepe myrtle, because generally they're not supposed to be here in Pennsylvania, but I've seen them popping up. I think that's a consequence, if that's a good word, of some of this climate change. People are trying it. They must be okay. It must be all right on the eastern side. Must come up from Delaware or something, because I know, like Hampton, Virginia, the entire city scape is crepe myrtles. Talk about monoculture. If there ever is a crepe myrtle disease, that town is not going to have any city trees, and they just let them grow. They let them grow and get humongous, and I'm sure it's beautiful. But I've seen people trying to have crepe myrtle here, and they've succeeded so far. I've seen them. A neighbor of my daughter's, and I'm like, every time I go by, I'm like, why do you have crepe myrtle? How do you have crepe myrtle? It shouldn't grow up here. But they are in, how a lot of the towns are built here. You can reach out and shake your neighbor's hand, through the bedroom windows. So it's a closed in, and they're pretty even and a block or two away from the river. So it must be just the right microclimate that it's not killing them, And we had a pretty good winter, like below zero several times.
There are plants that will grow for a while until you just get a really severe winter, and it takes them out.
Right.
I know queen palms will grow here, and they grow in Orlando, all across Central Florida, and they'll go for 10, 20 years. They get huge. You'll get one super cold winter every 20, 30 years where it gets just cold enough to kill a lot of them or damage them. So a few months later, they all die and have to be replaced. I know city of Orlando back in the 1980s the city was filled with queen palms. That's what the city papers put in. They all froze and died. They had to replace them.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they should be Sarasota on down.
Yeah, no, well, they do great here, and they're fast growing.
Right, but
there's always a chance you'll get a cold winter and you'll lose them.
Yep, especially young ones.
But it's funny, over here, you don't have to go far south to see totally different things. You go just the other side of Tampa, and you see all the South Florida palms, the bottle palms. Tarpon Springs, apparently people grow a lot of mangoes down there. I'm thinking
that was what I heard all the time when I worked there. When I worked there, I want this, I want that. It doesn't really do well here. And the line I heard over and over and over, and Bernie knows this line, but my friend in Newport Richey. Friend in Newport Richey. Newport Richey.
They're only 15 minutes away. It's not that far.
They're just that much further south. And then there'd be somebody like in Ridge Manor telling me that. I'm like, number one, they're further south. Number two, they're on the coast. Makes a difference. They could grow those what are those princess trees? What are they that has the red flowers? Somebody's trying to call me.
There is some kind of princess tree There's Tababuios.
Royal
Oh, the Royal
Poinciana.
Poinciana?
Yes.
There's a few of them around here, very few.
Right.
And
But people always want to grow them.
some kind of Hong Kong orchid or something. It's a large flowering tree. But
sorry about that phone. I want to let it go to voicemail instead of hanging up on it. Well, we don't have any. We don't have any physical telephones in this office at all.
Oh.
Our phone calls are made through Teams. That is something I'm going to change when I bring a hotline in here. We'll have at least one phone call, one phone, even if it's like a cricket phone or something. Yopon Holly. I love Yopon Holly.
That's great.
I love the dwarf ones, but the big ones would work for screening as well.
I like Squamatoria.
Yes. Yes. One of my favorite scientific names, Ilex vomitoria, the dwarf Yopon hollies.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite name is what is it, nervosa, wild coffee. Psychosa nervosa. Now, isn't that a fantastic Latin name for wild coffee? 3 mango seeds. They've all germinated.
Yep, you could do that.
Big pot.
Now, if you have a mango and you save the seed and you plant the mango seed, you will get a mango tree. Maybe very different from the fruit that you enjoyed and ate and got that seed out of, but it won't be an apple, it won't be an orange, it will be a mango. I can guarantee you of that. But there's no telling one day when it gets to the size and age where it's going to flower and fruit, which is probably going to be quite a few years. No telling whether you're going to be really happy with the fruit that it gives you or not. What they do in South Florida is they graft their mangoes. And a real common, fast-growing variety of mangoes is called a turpentine mango. And it's not the tastiest fruit. It's a good edible fruit, but not the tastiest fruit. Definitely not for what you want to grow if you're growing it commercially. But they take the seeds, and I've seen them doing this. People planting the seeds. Got a big pile of mango seeds, and they're big pits, and they have a belt sander. And if you bang the seed against a belt sander, it takes off enough of the seed coat, put it in a pot of soil, and boom, it'll sprout and grow. Grow it out for a little bit, whack off the top, take a branch off of a wonderful, beautiful variety of mango and graft it on there. And voila, that's where all the mango trees that they grow commercially in South Florida come from.
So they scarify it with the belt sander.
Yep.
Well, it's just like an orange. I mean, if you took seeds out of your orange, you're not going to grow that same kind of orange because it came from a grafted tree, with a hardy rootstock and a sweet scion for it and all of that. So,
So there's it's not just random. There's a lot of planning and art that goes into it. And Ann says the Tommy mangoes that are grafted are fantastic. That's pretty much still the favorite variety for commercial growing and shipping.
Yes, finish that sentence.
They grow well, they ship well. It says, my mom's in Clearwater did fantastic.
Yeah, what's that key word there?
Clearwater.
South
of here and right over on the coast. So she's fortunate enough to be in a spot that's going to stay warm enough where you shouldn't have problems with your mangoes freezing or dying.
And we encourage anyone to experiment and try as much as you want. Just don't spend thousands and thousands of dollars on something that it may not work. No,
I'm going to try mango. I still need to get a mango tree and hide it somewhere in my yard. The spot right out front where kind of a square area bordered by the side of my garage and the front of the house that has the holly bushes around it that may be on their way out, if you know what I mean. I'm probably going to put a starfruit carambola in there. They take A bit of cold. I mean, they don't take it. They're not going to grow in Pennsylvania in your front
Mhm.
yard, but they should
I
survive the
don't
cold.
have a front yard.
Um, with them, when they grow and they bush out and you want them to fruit, take the ends of the branches, bend them until they just barely crack, 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 so that you break the xylem and the phloem a little bit in them. Within a week or two, they'll flower and they'll fruit.
Really?
I like star fruit.
Something I planted when I first, I think it's been a year now, anyway, that we can grow here that is falling out, not falling out of favor, just not able to do as well in Hernando County as it did 20 years ago, is a redbud tree. And they're really taking off here.
Right on the edge.
Right.
Gainesville, they can grow redbuds up there.
Yes. Go to West Virginia in the spring. You want to have your eyes just overwhelmed with redbuds. It's amazing. But I have one in my yard now, and it's probably 3.5 feet tall and really branching out. I think maybe next year it might actually bloom some.
Yeah.
And I got it from my master gardeners before I knew I was ever going to be their coordinator. And they have a giveaway. We get them from Audubon or the Arbor Day Society, I think. Anyway, them and we buy pawpaw trees as well. Pawpaw trees, I don't know, can you grow them? They grow naturally there, but
yeah, gopher tortoises love them.
Yes. Well, they grow to big trees that produce fruit here. Again, it was always a West Virginia thing, and now there may have been one or two natives here, but now the weather has changed enough that we can do pawpaws, and they are the trendy tree. All the people out there who want to have their permaculture, and the young people buying the old farms and stuff, they want to have these pawpaws. And in fact, we're going to have some at our fall plant sale. And we learned from last year, we're going to have to limit it to 4 per household. Or else if you get there 10 minutes after the sale starts, somebody has bought all 100 pawpaw trees that we have ordered and fostered. So,
can you grow cherries up there?
Yep.
And I'm sure apples. I'm sure just a lot of different varieties of apples all do great up there.
Yes, and just like citrus and stuff, it's not like easy. You can't really ignore them.
Oh yeah. They all get insects and diseases and everything else.
Yeah,
they have to manage.
We can grow peaches, and the peach trees last more than 12 years. And the different stone fruits and things. Yep. But there is I told you about it, you didn't recognize it, a fungus that the prunus trees get called black knot fungus. And it looks like somebody took black spray foam all up and down the branches, and nothing. If you catch it early, you can trim those branches. But if not, you got to get that tree out before it affects others. Everybody has their issues.
Yeah.
His redbuds are under his pines. Yep. I've never seen a seed pod on it though.
We gave away redbud trees for Arbor Day about 6 years ago. And I got one, and this is the first year it really did something. I'm really happy. It was very, very pretty, and it leafed out really good, grew some more. So I'm looking forward to next year. It is pretty happy where it is. So I'm very fortunate because we're in a colder part of the county. I think that does help. So.
That does help.
Now, 25 years ago and before, inland, Brooksville, Dade City, Inverness, the spring would be gorgeous with redbuds and dogwoods, and of course the azaleas. And it seems we're always on the border, the southern border, for those redbuds and dogwoods. And dogwoods, even here, deal with the anthracnose disease. And there came a point where that southern border seems to have moved up to, at least Gainesville, probably.
Yeah, my azaleas were planted right next to a couple of oak trees, and when the hurricane went through, the oak trees went over, and the azaleas are still in that circle of stuff, but they're now 10 feet off the ground, so I can't get to them anymore.
Yeah, the azaleas are still doing fine in your area, but you don't have that mixture of the dogwoods and the redwoods red buds, which are purple buds, by the way. Have that argument with my husband every spring. I'm like, I didn't name them. It's because the horticulture world doesn't know purple. It only knows primary colors. So.
Yeah, we have I haven't seen a dogwood in Hernando County in a long time. I know there is a native one that you'll encounter out in the forest, but I normally don't see them.
The one that surprised me was the red bays.
Yeah.
We had an insect go through and poison all the red bays, kill them all. And I had no idea there were so many trees.
Yeah.
They were just
until
one of those
they all
things.
died, and they died
Right.
so quick they didn't drop their leaves. So you'd go to any wooded area, and 10% of the trees in just about any wooded area are sitting there dead with their leaves still. Oh my God, that's another red bay. And
I got a bunch of phone calls for about 2 years on that.
The ambrosia beetle did that, yes.
Yeah.
They talk about plant blindness, which we wouldn't think we have, or anyone listening. We pay a lot of attention to plants, but there's still, maybe narrow it down to tree blindness, especially like in a forest. It's just like they're just trees. They're just there, unless you're a forester or something, until a whole bunch of them die, and then you notice it.
And some of it is natural. I know I get calls every spring about pine trees, and we do have native pine bark beetles here. And it depends a lot on the weather.
The beetle.
If you go through a really wet period, then a really dry period, back and forth, it might put a lot of stress on the pine trees. Pine trees here in Florida tend to come up real fast. They grow fast. They die fast. So it's not always a big emergency or outbreak. Sometimes it's just normal, and we see quite a bit of it.
Chickasaw plums, where you don't see them all year long until spring, and then suddenly it looks like it snowed at the edge of the forest. So.
And people think they're seeing dogwoods, and they are most likely seeing Chickasaw plum in the understory at borders of the woods. They grow in abundance in the northwestern part of the county, up there in the Royal Highlands. Just gorgeous.
Yeah. And we have native persimmons here also.
Mm-hmm.
Had a lady who sent a picture in. She had some plants coming up in her azaleas, and it looked like some kind of small tree. So I said, "You're gonna have to bring some in. I can't tell much from the picture." Sent it off to be ID'd. It was persimmons. She's got tons of little persimmon trees. The native persimmons coming up in her yard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I planted a persimmon tree, and when the hurricane went through, snapped that sucker right off.
Oh wow!
I was very
well, my red bud that I got it as a stick, like a 3-foot tall stick, and I put it right in the ground, and the next morning my stick was bit in half. Just rabbit. Like with a slanted, it was a rabbit, the way it was bitten, the bunny.
Yeah.
And so then I put a tomato cage around it, which it's now outgrown, and I still have to keep some orange caution tape and stuff. I think it's big enough now that my sister's not going to run it over, but I fought for this poor little red bud. Have a little black.
Hey, Bernie, we have a question from Ann here, who has some black spot on her curry leaf plant. How would you treat it? She's been getting a lot of rain lately, and it's in a large pot, about 3 by 4 feet, and it does well.
I'm going to say it's got aphids on the bottom of the leaves above where you're seeing the black spots. and use a horticultural soap. Probably the safest thing to treat it. And you need to clean or spray the bottoms of the leaves. Probably sooty mold. And sooty mold is because the insects that are on the bottoms of the leaves, as they go through the sap out of the plant, they turn it into a sugary solution that falls down on the leaf top and is the perfect place for the sooty mold to grow. So
5 minutes left, and we almost got out of talking about any kind of secretion or or
Barely squeeze
poop.
that in.
but
Guys.
I would check the bottoms of the leaves and look for some kind of an insect. If you absolutely can't find any kind of an insect, I would say use a fungicide. But I'm going to say that's like a 5% chance, as a 95% chance it's sooty mold, and 95% chance there's an insect someplace. So I would go for that and use just the hort soap, and that's pretty much cleans it up. Safest thing you can use, won't hurt anything except the insects.
Yeah, and the insects you'd look for would be aphids, whiteflies, mealybugs, certain scales, and they're all small. You have to look very closely for them.
They're on the underside because that's the tender, juicy part where they can suck the juices out. And also they can hide under there from the sun and from predators. If you have ladybugs around, they're going to help you. So
yep,
they're going to hoover up those aphids.
So Lily, where you live in Pennsylvania, by any chance do you have the praying mantises, the really, really big green ones, late summer?
I haven't seen them, but I believe we have them. Yes,
up a couple feet, 6 inches long.
Yes, on the State Master Gardener Facebook page, which I have become a moderator of. It's a full-time job. People have shown them.
So, yeah. I found one on the side of my car. I actually took a picture of it. I do this ham radio stuff, and we send slow scan pictures back and forth one night a week. And so I took a picture of it and sent it out on the airways. But it's really surprised me. You know, it's one of those things. After I took the insect class and found out all about insects, I see those darn things, all these varieties that never existed before.
It is neat how your eyes can open. Yes.
Yeah, because I remember growing up with them in the fields in Maryland. Aren't the big green ones Chinese mantids? Because we generally, if we have them in Florida, it's very, very few. We have praying mantises, but they're all much smaller. They're not the big ones like up north.
If I see one, I'll get a picture for you, Bill.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going home one night from where I worked in Indiana, and we step out, and the fellow I worked with says, "Oh, there's a such and such bird," and I thought, "Well, that's kind of interesting." When did those show up? And he said, "Oh, well, they're really common." Well, the next weekend I went to Louisville, and it's 100 miles between Indianapolis and Louisville. There were 104 of those darn birds.
He counted them.
But I had never seen one before. But once you know about something, then they're everywhere. So
yes,
you learn about an insect, that insect suddenly starts being every place. Stink bugs. When you can identify a stink bug, suddenly you find out that there are stink bugs on every plant you own. So.
And here we've got the brown. How do you say it, Bill? I always want to say marmorated.
You got the bad one up there, yeah.
The marmorated.
Brown marmorated stink bug. So aside from the ones getting on all the vegetables now because it's so hot, every vegetable issue that can exist is existing. Now we got the ones that get in your house and get between your aluminum siding or vinyl siding, and you go up to someone's house and go in a room they don't use often, and you'll see them on the windowsills and stuff, and it's just like nothing. You know, it's so
Yeah.
the dead ones.
Not bad.
I mean, it's so common. Yeah. They're not as bad as they were when they first started to be a problem. Just like anything. I'm hoping the spotted lanternfly will end up being the same thing. And so we have evidence now that bats are eating the spotted lanternfly.
Oh.
So evidence being, you know, the thing that we always end up talking about here. It's in their guano.
Through their poo.
Yeah.
That's twice, and right on time. It's 11 a.m.
Yes.
Okay, guys, I'll give everybody like one more minute here. If you have any last-minute burning questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll be sure to answer them. But otherwise, I went ahead and showed all of my different banners with my email address and contact information and Colby's email. Hey, where's Colby today?
Well, I don't know. You're the boss of this program.
Bernie, where's Colby?
Did he tell us last week he had something?
I think so, and I just forgot. So
yeah.
But Colby was not able to be with us today. He obviously something else came up. But I'm going to be back here again next week. Lily, I think you're going to be at the Pennsylvania Fair.
It's the Dayton Fair. It's for our county. It's not all of Pennsylvania, but yes.
Eating corn and that Pennsylvania Dutch fresh scrapple.
He always wants to saddle us with scrapple. That's that other side. That's from Lancaster on east that eats the scrapple. The only people who eat it here are the people who have moved here from the east side of Pennsylvania.
My
but there will be corn.
Scrapple, and I don't think he'd ever been in Pennsylvania. So
I think it might be an Amish thing.
He was an Amish.
Well, no, but there are plenty of Amish people in Indiana. So.
They get around.
Yes. And around the fairgrounds, there it's getting pretty close to a town that is mostly Amish that's in the next county over, but it's not that far from there. So you have to take that into consideration. It's already an hour from my house, and then take in extra time in case you get behind a buggy. So, but absolutely gorgeous ride, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I guess it would be bad form to just lay on your horn and.
No, you don't do that. No. Or behind a tractor, one or the other, up there.
Yeah. You see them way out in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, hey, guys, I don't see any other questions on here, so thank you so much for joining us. Please be sure to follow us on Facebook and also on YouTube to find out about the link and exactly what time we're going to be here next week. But I'm planning on being here next Thursday morning at 10 a.m. So maybe Colby will be able to join us again. Maybe he'll be back. So,
and Buddy should be there since they let him in the office again.
Yeah, now that the flooring is all done and we're all back at the office.
I was thinking last week you could have went up to utilities and sat next to Colby and joined us. But
no, I was fine at home. I got everything I need. Everything worked. Okay, well, thanks again, guys. We will see all of you again back here next week, next Thursday morning at 10 a.m. So until then, see ya.
Bye-bye.